Jacob, can you say something for me, please?
Yeah, I can say I've had an Imodium for dinner because I got a dicky tummy.
Wonderful. Jake?
I'm Imodium free currently.
Imodium free?
Imodium, clean and sober from Imodium.
I've had like
free bowling,
I've
as they
had
call
4
it.
days of it now, and I am worried that I've got like fucking Crohn's or something.
Great to be in a small room with you when you've got a possibly infectious stomach disease.
Milo, have you had Imodium?
No, I haven't. No. But that could means I could explode at any moment. So that's part of the fun.
We're all of an age now where if we try and do over an hour long podcast without Imodium, we're all running a bit of a risk. Men in our 30s with bad coffee addictions, anything could happen.
They call it the podcaster's butt plug.
Well, I'm glad to know how much Imodium almost everyone has had. Hussein, what's your Imodium situation?
I do not have any in my house because I think I've taken all of them. So, yeah.
It's not because you disagree with it in principle.
That's right. Well, no, I probably just like went ham one evening and like I just forgot to replenish. So
if I keep Imodium in the house, I will do all of it. So I can't.
I've got hay fever tablets. I don't know whether there's something in that.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to TF. It is the slightly remote one because of the tube strikes. It is Riley, Hussein, and Milo today. We are joined by Jake and Jacob from the Screen Rot podcast. Jake, Jacob, how you doing?
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Plugged correctly.
A huge day for guys in their like mid 30s to early 40s.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. If
guys in baseball caps.
with
Big day for those
glasses.
guys.
Yeah. There's a lot of boyfriends who are very happy.
Boyfriends who are medically dependent on Imodium. Huge day for those guys.
Yeah. IBS suffering boyfriends.
Yeah.
If you were hoping for like a romantic dinner or something with your boyfriend or like something like you're not gonna it's not gonna happen tomorrow.
Good luck.
Like just write that one off.
Yeah. They're parasocially doing Imodium with TF and Screen Rot. They're gonna be like they're never gonna go to the bathroom again. No. So we've got the Screen Rot boys today to discuss something I've been interested in talking about for a while, which is the Boschman and how it seems like a lot of British political commentators appear to have started relentlessly projecting on and in some cases trying to draft at least one of the Boschmen into being into a political party, which I think is hilarious. And you guys have been like, you've been following the two men who say Bosch on the internet and their different political valences for a long time.
There used to be a time where Bosch was just a derogatory term for Germans, and that was what a great time that was during the Second World War. Now Bosch, of course, attached to these two men from Essex, and we've been doing our bit down the content mines trying to explain it to, I would say, varying degrees of success, I think it's fair to say.
Well, I think our first ever episode was about Big John. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Episode 1, the first episode of our podcast was about Big John. And like, that was 2 years ago? You would have thought that it might have tailed off or his peak might have hit. Every time you think he's done, he just keeps coming, and he doesn't have to change.
Also, what they say at the Chinese takeaway.
Also, what he was like as a boxer, right? You couldn't knock him down. He would just keep coming at you.
Style just keeps coming forward. And whereas, but he hasn't done the sort of Madonna thing. He hasn't evolved. It is very much the same shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same stuff. Whereas Skinner, it kind of feels like it is. And I have to hold my hands up and say I'm guilty of being reluctant to acknowledge how Skinner's evolved. Do you know what I mean? I think I had affections for him that made it harder for me to accept, this is going a bit... And so now, as you correctly point out, Riley, I think things are being projected onto both of them, but I think also in Skinner's case there is an eagerness, and I think that's the difference between the two. Is like I think fame fell on Big John, whereas I think Skinner has sought it out in so many different ways over the years, and now it's kind of like 600-word tweets, ChatGPT created that have this sort of like he's towing the line so strangely between like not quite. I mean, he deletes loads of them, but most of the time he toes the line a bit like, why can't woke people let you have a cooked breakfast in the morning? And he's genuinely like a living Stuart Lee routine.
By the way, if you're not in Britain and you think that why can't woke people let you have a cooked breakfast anymore is like an exaggeration, I believe that literally was one of the things he posted about and deleted.
Pint on a Friday and a cooked breakfast, and
hard work. That's the other. Yeah, that's the other strange thing. He thinks they're trying to stop us working hard. I don't really.
It's not clear who they is.
No, it's never clear who they is. But yeah, they're trying to stop us working. They're trying to stop us having cooked breakfast, and they're woke. Yeah. And every now and then it's like, and also there are some boats.
It just directs in there.
I mean, that's the thing. It's worth saying at the beginning of this is like he did write and then delete a tweet about asylum seekers.
Yeah.
Which is genuinely like over the line. You know, not just like, is it illegal to have a pint? It's like, how one part of it verbatim was, why are they giving them flip-flops? It's still mental.
Good morning, you lovely people. We've got proper British asylum seekers and they're trying to make them bloody Australian. Make it make sense. All right, Bosh.
Yeah, it's like, whereas it's like with Big John, it's just like he ate a lot, he said Bosch, and then people were like, oh, Big John, we love when you say Bosch, and he was like, yeah, thanks. And then because he also says Bosch, I think, and he's not overtly right-wing, a lot of people began projecting progressiveness onto him, even though he's just like a normal guy.
We had him at a live show. He's just a completely normal bloke that is understandably massively bemused by what's going on. Like he doesn't know what's happening, and he does this like line, and he did it on stage, and everyone lost their fucking minds. Where he went, "I didn't find the Bosch found me." Now that doesn't mean anything.
What does that mean?
That's what you would. That's what you would say if you were like a spy captured in 1943.
It's like a line from The Great Escape.
Yeah. There's also like a kind of excuse.
Bloody tunnel collapsed.
Good luck. Yeah,
The SS guy on the bus saying, Bosh.
Yeah.
You're like, Bosh. Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck. Should have said Z-Bosch, which is the German version of Bosch. He's just like, he's entirely bemused by it. He's not as craven as Skinner in his pursuit of fame or like any political influence. And then I just opened up my phone the other day, he's on fucking Newsnight talking about immigration. It's like, what are we doing?
Like, okay, who at Newsnight, which Newsnight booker listens to Screen Rot is my question for you.
Many years ago, I interviewed for a job at Newsnight as a producer, and they were like, this is part of the BBC thing where like you have to go through like 1,000 rounds before like you get to speak to the final boss, who's just like, no. So I got to like maybe round 4, and they were like, okay, pitch us some ideas. Because the thing about like, if you're pitching, you don't want to give them like your really, really good stuff because they'll just nick it anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll give you something good, not like top tier, like A or B. So I'm just like, you guys should do a story on illegal Pokemon cards, and the fact that like, and this was like 2017, 18. So this was becoming a thing in the sense of like, there was this like trading card market, and it was kind of massively overinflated, and it was fucking up all the trade games, hobbyists, whatever, and that stuff. And the woman who's interviewing me is just like looking at me as if I've said like the most insane, which I guess maybe to her I did say the most insane thing ever. And she was just like, could you have any more serious stories? And I was like, well, no, I'm not
more serious than that.
Yeah, should have said Bosch at the end.
Well, what I should have said is that there's this guy in Essex, there's this guy in Romford, and he eats a crazy amount of Chinese food. So I did not get that job, but it is very amusing to sort of see like partly what Newsnight has become, but also just like, but I think this is kind of it too. Like, it's really like a reflection of kind of like information, like of the current information culture, and the fact that like, you know, for news organizations, they're very much like reliant on social media influencers of whatever type to tell them what is happening, because they can't send people out to do it themselves, or like they just don't really want to do it. But also, if you are just like a normal person that goes viral, because like Big John presumably went viral, like the way in was TikTok, right? And then all the other, and the reason I mention that is because like on TikTok there is that kind of version of fame, particularly like in Britain, where it's just like a relatively ordinary guy just does a thing, and people are just like broadly amused by it.
I'm the guy who ranks phone bots.
Yeah, totally.
It's like 4 million followers.
And it just kind of like blows up, and you know, it crosses all the thresholds of like every kind kind of interest category online until like the person who does like the flagship news channel on the BBC gets the same TikToks as like, you know, one of us, or like me doom scrolling on my phone while like I'm trying to put my kids to sleep. And we're seeing the same stuff. And it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, like this guy, but yeah, this guy absolutely should be on the news. And in a couple of months, it can be like the guy who ranks phone boxes or
Scooter scorer.
Yeah, if they end up with Scottish pervert Daniel Ewan Henderson on there talking about Scottish independence, then we know there's a screen rot mole in the building.
I think they should get the Schooner scorer to talk about HS2. I think that'd be fun.
I don't, and I especially like with stuff, as I say, I used to listen to Trash Future a lot, and I like, so I'm wary of going out on a limb too much because I'm worried that I'm ill-informed. I feel like...
That's never stopped you before.
Yeah, because our audience are fucking idiots. But say anything on there, they can't read. But like, I feel like the reason like it gets projected onto both of them is as much as like our political system is falling apart, it's because there's no one on either side. Like, I think we're obviously like broadly like, and different ends of the spectrum, we're all left wing, right? And it's easy for us to look at the left and go, there is no one. Mm-hmm. There's no one there to get behind. There's no one there who will just go, right, flags, fair enough, but it's fucking horrible the way this is being used. Don't trash Chinese restaurants. Stop making people feel horrible about where they come from. Britain is welcome to everyone. No one on the left is willing to just say that. Yeah. So they have to get the Chinese takeaway guy, right? Yeah. But I think it's also, we don't realise this because we're on the left, that the right is the same. That they don't have a guy either. That's why they're doing Skinner. But no, they're not happy with Nige.
Why?
Yeah, but they're not really happy with him because well,
he's gone woke.
Yeah, they think that he's like kind of woke. They think that he's sort of on the
what?
So yeah,
he's rich as well. They don't like him.
Well, the interesting thing about the right, from what I can see, is that like they have like a similar problem in the sense of like they're constantly looking for guys who will sort of like be their sort of match their extremes. Yeah. But also they have politicians in sort of Conservative Party, for example, who are like trying to be those guys. So like Robert Jenrick, who like a few years ago was just like, I don't want to say because like none of them were particularly normal, but he was just like a Tory politician.
He was less internet, I think we can say.
And like, and just sort of like was a bit of an oafish guy. And then over the summer, he's taken a Ozempic and also he's doing all these like face to camera videos.
Yeah. He's like, I've got my gauntlet and I will challenge any fair dodger to a duel. Pistols or swords,
But
sir.
this is the thing, and speaking as quite comfortably the most right-wing person on this podcast,
on this planet.
He's too authoritarian.
He looks like your boss. He looks like someone that make you work through your lunch.
That's the thing. He's a suit. Yeah. Whereas like Skinner is the loudest guy in the pub who is saying the things that no one else dares to say. Yeah. And I honestly, it's as ridiculous that we're projecting onto, as you say, Riley, like Big John. It's just a normal guy who didn't really say anything on news.
It was almost politician-like in his kind of like, I'm not really going to say anything.
You can see that he's shitting himself. He's sat there going, fucking hell, because he knows that he literally sits in the fucking bank middle. He's got as many right-wing people that love him as he does left-wing people. And like, he manages to do what no Labour politician has managed to do in the last 12 months, which is just sit there and appease both without being a cunt, right?
I'm someone who's been associated with Chinese takeaways. I think it's important that we remember that it's not just about the numbers of people coming in on the boats. It's about other numbers, like 69, sweet and sour pork.
Yeah, but also, like, I think I broadly agree with what you're saying, because, like, but also it has to do with, like, who Newsnight will book, right? Because Zach Polanski, for example, the Greens have exactly as many MPs as Reform, and Zach Polanski just won a huge mandate to lead the Green Party, and he's not getting invited on the chat shows, right? And so it's also, if you're a BBC Newsnight booker, it's like, we have to get someone to talk about like this Chinese takeaway that was vandalized in Yorkshire, daubed with paint and hung with England flags and stuff. Again, the hanging of an English Cross of St. George flag being an aggressive act, not just, I'm a bit patriotic, I think I could do with hanging some flags. Guess I'll put them randomly on different businesses. Like, no, it was targeted.
That one wasn't for the Lionesses, was it?
I don't think it was for the Lionesses.
That wasn't for the Andorra game.
Yeah.
It's for the Andorra game, I say to my local Bobby as I stand with a spray paint can outside my mosque. Yeah.
What, you say Muslims can't like the football now? I think you're the racist one, actually. PC woke.
And so so with Big John, they're just like, okay, we don't want to put Zach Polanski on because he's just going to say the stuff that like Corbyn would say, which is absolutely we should welcome asylum seekers. the hanging of these flag, sure, is the cross of St. George in a vacuum bad, but like, no, it's clearly being done in an intimidating way. Like all the, like these things, they're like, well, we can't get anyone to say that. What if we got the guy who's most associated with the type of property that was vandalized?
The other thing that was very funny about the Big John, and like, because he was like really like, he was like an angel on social media for 3 days after that Newsnight clip went viral. And you're right, Riley, like that would have been the producer's dream, right? Is that he goes viral for saying what no politician has said. But then everyone was like, oh, the kindness that he's shown that takeaway. All he said is he's going to give them his custom.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like, I'll put 10 grand in and I'll get it cleaned. He wasn't like, I'm going to set up a fundraiser and we'll put some money. He's just like, I'll buy a £10 set meal.
And by the way, I don't think hate crimes are good. I'm a kind guy like that.
But it's not we're not trying to like reduce what John said. Like, we love John. I think it's more that like it's amazing that
people wetting themselves about it is a bit much. I think.
But that's enough to fill the space because no one else will.
Yeah, or like Riley says, they're not willing to book people that might.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And on the other Bosch man for a second as well, like we have, so we have Big John,
two Bosch men unalike in dignity,
who's like, who I think he's in Malta right now, just like drinking pints and eating cooked breakfast, which I guess you're allowed to do there because the wokes haven't taken it over yet.
Good morning, you lovely people. I'm here in Malta. One of the last outposts of Christendom before you get to the perfidious Moor.
It's like Tom Skinner's just like still angry about like what Suleiman the Magnificent did to Malta in the 15th century.
Dressed up as a full Gozo knight, just riding around on horseback around the cobbles.
I just think Granada's Spanish. Fuck the Alhambra.
Wait, wasn't Big John also just in Malta like fairly recently?
Oh no, he's still there. Yeah.
Oh my god!
What's
They're
they both there?
No, we're imagining that.
We're imagining that Skinner's there for the purposes of a humorous comparison. But no, Big John very much is.
With John, the one thing the left would not love about him is his fucking carbon footprint. That cunt, honestly, he tours like the fucking Rolling Stones.
Oh my god!
He's not in the same country for more than a week. He's everywhere. He did a tour of America literally a month ago. Yeah. It was
I was going to ask, like, I'm so curious about what he does for, because like when I watch his videos, when I watch his reels and stuff, he's got like a very nice and quite large house, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a very like he's done, or his family have seemingly done quite well for themselves. His wife does work or probably does have a job.
I think
and
so.
like I don't think like his son, the boxer Johnny's like, he's not making that much money from boxing, surely.
Yeah, he will be. He will be.
You reckon?
He sells a huge amount because of his dad. He's got a really his profile relative to his skill level. Yeah,
so
he's good.
He's Tommy Fury, but like Bosch Tommy Fury. He's gonna go on Love Island.
I have been so curious as to like what was his life before the Chinese.
He was a cheesemonger. So he's a cheese and meat guy.
Yeah.
And they're kind of part of the like origin myth now, the origin story.
I've got to get into cheesemonging. Looking at that house, fuck me.
They've had the house though since pre.
Well, I think this was the issue. There was a large amount of mortgage on the house, and COVID took the bottom out of the cheese market. So that was
at home eating cheese. He could have
not in the quantities they were before.
Really?
I don't know.
I was getting fucking crazy shit delivered. I got this Malaysian girl's mum to send me food once. Spent like 80 quid on it. It was really good, but like I did feel like I was like, this is mad.
There's lots of people just starting like pop-ups from their kitchen at that time, wasn't it? No, so that was the John Foundation with, and then he got into boshing. He got into boshing after his son became like a promising heavyweight boxer, and his talent is like he's such an incredible salesman. They sell boatloads of tickets to these boxing matches, kind of disproportionate to the level of the boxing. And now he goes to nightclubs all over the world, chucks prawn crackers at people, and shouts Bosch, and he's having the time of his life. Trust me on that.
It's like, isn't this like what Mark Wright is supposed to do? Like, this is supposed to be the Bosch guy.
Yeah, but he's too polished, isn't he, Mark Wright? Yeah. He's too kind of teeth and hair.
And I also like it's interesting because like it's a big.
By
John
the way, I had a
did.
whole news segment that I was going to go into, and we just went right into the Boschman.
Oh yeah, don't tempt us with some boshing, and then we can't be stopped.
We booked Big John. We were doing like a live podcast of Screenwriter, and we booked Big John to come and do it. And it was I have to say, I was shitting myself because all day, like even like 3 hours before he was due to be with us, he was posting stories of himself playing paddle in Cornwall. And I was like, fucking hell, he's not going to get it. But he's posting stuff on a delay. He posts lifestyle stories that haven't actually happened that day. It turned out he'd actually been in Blackpool the night previous, doing a nightclub appearance, had slept at a service station and come straight to us. Okay. And so he's doing loads of these nightclub appearances. And I think like the kind of Mark Wrights of this world, as someone who's made a living from stand-up comedy for the last like 6 or 7 years, like they don't love the road. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of those guys, there's like former Towie stars, whatever, they don't love the road. They can't keep doing it. John keeps driving. I think because he was formerly like bankrupt almost, he just keeps driving. He keeps taking the bookings.
And a head full of dreams, and
like, is that his merch at the nightclub? Like on the way out, he's selling cheese in the smoking area.
You can get
Do you want that, son? A lovely little bit of cobbler. Get that down, yeah.
I can tell you that he does still invoice from the cheese and meat company. I'm not sure whether I should say that or not, but he's still invoicing from the cheese and meat company.
One of the two Boshmen has like reverse acquired his own cheese and meat company, like a sort of SPAC, but for Boshing.
Yeah,
That's
he's on
awesome.
a bear hug with his own cheese and meat company in reverse. Yeah,
Bosch has gone public via the cheese and meat company.
Yeah. Oh my God. So like
the holding company.
But I guess like it's just so odd to me, right? That it's like, you know, like we say, Big John goes on TV and it's like, but before even he went on TV, because there are two Boshmen, like the political culture of this country is so bankrupt and so devoid of anything that because one guy says Bosch and is right wing, everyone's like, well, you're the other one. But like, just to remember, like we sort of have been alluding to, but to go into it a little more, did you get the sense, because I certainly got the sense that people were waiting on like the Big John Bosch politics reveal? Because it's just such a tidy narrative and people just start projecting on the good Bosch man. But it's like, because he's a normal person who just lives in Britain and isn't particularly politically engaged, you just have received wisdom. Right. So it's, if you were to ask him, what do you think about a wide range of political hot button issues? He would probably give you the pretty much exact answer of any normal person, which is a hodgepodge of a bunch of contradictory things that don't really fit together, kind of based on whatever's around. It doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means you're like, politics is not something you're engaged in a in media environment where politics is entertainment. Right. So it's like all of the stuff that you think politically probably just comes from a bunch of different sources, doesn't fit together that well, which is why, like, I'm worried that at some point there's going to be a great fall when people who've been projected, that's right-wingers as well, like Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin, is like, I hate the big Bosch man. He's so woke. It's like, I don't think you know that.
God, no. And he's like, also, Big John is like, up until this point, like self-declared, like they're all as bad as each other, which is like the political opinion that's held by everyone in Stevenage, in my experience growing
everyone
up.
in every suburb in the country.
Every suburb in the country,
every suburb, every rural area, and
then like probably vote Tories when it comes down to it.
And I'm 99% sure that the only reason he did that Newsnight appearance is because it was related to a Chinese takeaway.
Yeah, it was.
Because I've seen people on Twitter or Instagram before try and rope him into like, oh, Tom Skinner said this. What do you reckon, John? Would you give that a Bosh or no Bosh? And he'll be like, leave me out of this. Like he doesn't like it. He doesn't want to get into those waters. It's only because he thought he might get a chance to say Chow Min that he went on this.
It's like Drake's drum. If a takeaway is attacked, like Big John is like involuntarily summoned. Like he's woken from his slumber to protect the thing he holds most dear.
It would have happened because people would have tagged him. It would have happened. Like people on Twitter would have gone, "Shit, a Chinese has been done. What do you reckon, John?" That genuinely would have happened.
Signal to the sky.
Shine the prawn cracker. He's got a gun that shoots prawn crackers.
He genuinely does.
Brings it to gigs. But like, I think he knew. He sensed he had the opportunity to say on national television, "I'm a man who's associated with takeaways," and you don't turn that opportunity down. That only comes along once in in a generation.
Yeah, I'd go on TV to say
Yeah,
that.
100%. I'd drive to Salford now to get on the BBC to say that.
I think everybody on this recording and probably many of the people listening, we can quite comfortably assume all of us would love to go on TV and say, I'm associated with Chinese takeaways. But then he actually goes on, he's like, I'm also associated with takeaways in general. And he lists a bunch like Greek, Mexican. Yeah, it's true.
Listen, I'll eat any takeaway. It's not a problem for me.
And I also like that he went on like the Criminal Connection podcast, and the only professional advice he's ever gotten was like Meta has like an account manager for him, right? Like Meta fucking loves him. And they just like what he says in this other podcast, he was interviewing this guy. He was like, yeah, so what does Meta say to do? It's like, yeah, my family says I post too much. But then Meta was like, no. This is perfect. Change nothing.
Yeah.
Don't stop posting. Yeah.
Keep ordering those Chineses. Don't worry about the hardening of your arteries.
Yeah. So like, I just think that it's like, I've seen this story before where like some normal person just blunders into like, gets sucked into like a political vacuum by just being regular. And then at some point, he's just going to keep being regular. And then all the people who've like imprinted on him, like birds, are going to be like, wait a minute, you're not like, I used to think you should be the like run as a candidate for your party and you should be justice secretary, but I just don't think that anymore.
You, sir, have won the internet today.
Yeah.
No, he's like, he's like gonna definitely happen. And I hope it doesn't, because I've met him. He's a lovely man. I hope it doesn't happen in a bad way. So like recently, the boxer Tony Bellew had a spat with Tommy Robinson on Twitter, which is not a fucking sentence you ever want to have to say.
God, what a meeting of minds that is. Tony Bellew and Tommy Robinson.
And basically, like Tony Bellew was sticking up for people of the Islamic faith. And Tommy Robinson was doing his fucking thing, as he always did. And Big John kind of went like, well done, Tony. Like, there's really good people in all religions or something like that. And Tony went, yeah, and all rapists should obviously be put to death immediately. And it was just like, the light it's gonna cross. And I think Big John was kind of like, didn't oppose solely in the affirmative. I think it was kind of like, yeah, you're a good guy, you're a friend of the family kind of thing. But it's like, if you wade into these waters, you're going to get dragged down by the crocodiles, right?
Do you know one of the biggest giveaways, and I saw someone tweeted this the other day, the biggest giveaways that like Big John isn't like a manufactured thing, it's not planned, this is genuinely just someone's dad who's got a bit of, if you look at his Twitter handle, if you can bring it up, I don't know if anyone's got the option. It's like Big John and then like a load of numbers.
Yeah. Oh, it's
that's
a real
Twitter
dad
handle.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's an actual dad's Twitter handle.
Yeah,
and it's like, he will just have like a dad opinion. Like, he will just come out as someone who hasn't really considered this, who hasn't pitched himself as a candidate. And there will be like a hole in his morals. Do you know what I mean? There'll be one policy where it's like, I do think we should kill people who hurt dogs. Do you know what I mean? It'll be something like that.
Yeah.
And everyone will go, oh shit, no.
It will be exactly that.
It will be exactly that, yeah. If anyone hurts Rottweilers, they should be fucking hung. And
Like, I specifically didn't look at his old tweets because I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I do remember like the first time I thought that, he might be heading down like a sort of reactionary bend that I'm not particularly a fan of, is when the XL bully ban was sort of taking place.
Yeah.
And he was doing a bunch of these videos that were just like, it was very much in the vein of like, dogs are lovely, it's actually the dog owners. And I was just like, I enjoyed you eating your chicken balls, mate. It was a wonderful experience. But I'm sorry to see that this is where you're heading. And he just like someone like, pulled him back from what seemed
much like
quite
an XL bully going for a toddler. Someone pulled him back.
Someone muzzled him.
Yeah, he used all of their might.
But he's also got like a dog that it's not an XL bully, but it is one where like I was watching one of the Big John Chinese sit downs. I'm not sure who was on there, but like when the guest came, when the guest came into like his house, the dog was coming after him, and like he had to be stopped. And then one of the sons kind of stopped the dog before like he was going to jump on the guest. But like I'm very sure the dog was like biting this boy's arm.
Definitely a bit. The most Essex or Hertfordshire thing you can do. First, say they're all as bad as each other. Two, have a large, very dangerous dog who, when it jumps at people, you say, "Oh, he's just playing. Don't worry about him. He's fine." Like that's the most Stevenage or Gidea Park thing you can do.
And so like, so this is the number one Bosch man, right? This is in my view the main one,
except no substitutes.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about the second Boschman for a moment.
Oh God.
Well, because it's interesting though that you say that Big John is the main Bosch man, because Skinner is the more long-term Bosch man. Skinner has been a fixture in British media for much longer.
Media. Skinner's on like mainstream television once a week. He's done Vine. He's been on everything.
He's on Strictly.
He's put in the hours. Yeah, he's put in the hours.
He's on Strictly, and I think he might get MasterChef as well. And this might be Reform's...
Christ, what's he going to cook? Fuck me.
Yeah, well, but this might be
Right
Reform's next mayoral candidate. But this is the thing. It's like, I know that I want to sound like I'm defending. Like, I almost think the reason he hasn't fully lent into the Reform thing, it's not because he doesn't necessarily think those things or that he doesn't think he could profit for them, but I think he thinks he could be Jonathan Ross. Do you know what I mean? I think he sees such a future for himself in television. That's the reason that he's treading the line.
Right.
It's because he's like, I'm a fucking TV star. I can't be
mayor.
I can't do this dirty politics shit. And he spent his entire life chasing money. He'll be trying to go, well, there's probably more money in getting my own chat show, right, which he probably thinks is possible.
God, imagine what the house band would be called if they gave Skinner the Jonathan Ross show. Fucking hell.
And so that's the thing, right? Because Reform's conference has just happened. And they are heavily hinting.
Just normal people having a normal time.
Yeah, they had karaoke, bit of fun.
Well, they had impromptu karaoke when Andrea Leadsom walked on stage.
Yeah,
genuinely, she sung a song, her own song that she wrote, as well as the national anthem,
which is the sign of a normal person, in my view. Everyone knows whenever you're at a funeral or a wedding, and someone's like, a member of the family has written a poem, you're sat there thinking, this will be really good. This definitely won't be a horrible shift in tone that's been gravely misjudged.
This won't have weirdly sexual metaphors about the bride and by her uncle. Yeah, this will be normal.
Yeah, but still, I fully expected at that conference, because the Tories and Reform are both trying to draft Tom Skinner right now, because they're with Reform, they're we could win the London mayoralty. With the Tories, they're just we've gone so internet that you're our last connection to the normal world out there. No, but so the Reform conference, they had the vaccine skeptic Dr. Asim Malhotra. They had Lucy Connolly, right? Who's just crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Who's Lucy Connolly?
She's the woman who went to jail for the tweet.
Yeah, the tweets that's just
Which tweet?
Burn all the asylum hotels down for all I care.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
For all I care is such a funny thing to put on the end of such an aggressive tweet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't care.
If anyone even listens to me.
Yeah.
No
one will probably listen to me. Charming.
I guess commit a grave racialized act of violence if you even care what I
if you
think.
care what I think.
Probably won't listen to me. No
if
one
you're
ever
asking
does.
me.
Yeah. What am I like? Anyway, they have her. They have Andrea Jenkins. I totally thought that was going to be their big announcement, that the Reform candidate for mayor of London is going to be Tom Skinner. But
WWE style.
Yeah.
Is that Tom Skinner's music?
Yeah. But also, it's very funny. The conference, there was no major corporate advertising. They were all there, but there's no major corporate advertising. The only thing that there really was a bunch of gold dealing websites for paranoid old people.
These people are obsessed with gold. They're obsessed with putting their money into natural minerals.
Yeah, little pirates.
Yeah. Imagine having a 5-bedroom house in Surrey and being like, no, this isn't secure enough. I need to get some gold.
I have a bit about this at the moment because Farage has been shilling for this company called Bullion Direct.
That's the company. That's the company that was advertising there.
It's an amazing name for a company.
Bullion Direct.
And in the ad, we've got to get your bullion somewhere. Might as well get it direct. It's cheaper that way, presumably.
Don't waste your time on the market. Go direct to Bullion Direct. If you want to secure your pension and make sure that your grandchildren are going to grow up in a nice university, you want to go to Bullion Direct.
You've got to get proper British gold from Bullion Direct. And it's there's an ad where he's talking about why you need gold, and it's all about how uncertain the world is now. And the clips, and it's got clips of the war in Ukraine, genuine tanks being blown up by drones and stuff. And then it cuts back to Farage in the studio and he just goes, and of course China. No one knows what they're going to do. Some people are like, fuck, he's right. I've got to buy gold. Yeah. I've got to call this number.
I need to
I'm watching ITV3.
Yeah. Someone in their conservatory in rural Essex is phoning their financial advisor. We get it all out of stocks and shares. We need gold.
Can we take the money out of the walk-in bath? I don't want that anymore. Yeah. I want the gold.
Buying their adult nappies with little chunks of gold down Asda. Will you change that for me, love?
You're in the show Deadwood, just buying whiskey with gold. But also, just before we get back onto the Boschman, this is just from the FT article about the Reform Conference. I got the fucking news in. I told you I was going to do a news segment. I segued it the fuck
Sneaky.
in. At the afternoon sessions came to an end, members donned their glad rags for evening's entertainment, a 25-pound-a-head party, including, and this is one of my favorite sentences, a performance by the surviving members of the Jacksons.
That's class.
Wow.
Jacob did a really funny tweet about this the other day, not to be like, oh, my friends do funny tweets, but like they are, as a party, like they look unbelievable. We've talked about this on the podcast before, like about Joseph Valente, who's also a kind of Reform adjacent apprentice contestant. Like, and I'm not like I'm not saying they're ugly. I'm disparaging their looks. They just truly unbelievable.
I've never seen people that look like that before. Like I've never seen
guys.
I've never seen faces like this before.
No.
They almost, a lot of their faces look like they've been sort of like transposed onto them digitally from a black and white film. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a news program. Yeah.
Which is the last thing you want at the Reform Conference.
It's crazy.
It looks like one of those streets in New York where the people are walking a little bit too fast because they've made the
sped up silent footage. Yeah.
They're all like, they're very outcasty. They're very weird. And I think
you meant like the Atlanta rap duo then for a second. They're all dressed like Andre 3000, carrying a flute around.
I think that's why they look at Skinner and they go, he could be our guy because he's normal.
He looks like a guy.
They're all they're so weird. And like Farage isn't cutting the mustard anymore. Like he's not cutting through anymore.
Yeah, Elon hates him. Elon's like, you're woke because you're towing the like sort of British government line on Tommy Robinson.
Sorry, what is he unwilling? Okay, great. Yeah. Great. That is now a signifier of wokeness.
And with Tommy Robinson, because they are trying to appeal to people in their conservatories, and I see this on Twitter a lot of the people don't like Tommy Robinson. Genuinely, I've seen so many people say this because he swears too much. There's so many of them say that. I don't like his language. I don't like his language.
Oh, charming.
He's not a nice boy.
No.
Literally.
He's not like that one.
I don't agree with
Who's
that.
that footballer that's a nice boy?
Michael Owen.
Yeah, that's the one.
Saka, Eze.
Bukayo Saka would be the nicest boy in London, I think.
But I think this has always sort of been a problem. Like, it's always been like both the gift and the curse for all of the Farage political projects. Like, UKIP was always a very weird party, right? Like, before Brexit, there was a very small UKIP sort of like society at the uni I went to. And it was the biggest UKIP society in the country. And there was like 6 people in there. So like, that tells you everything you need to know about the University of York in the early 2010s. And like, they were always very like weird. They dressed very like eccentrically. They had very sort of, they were always political misfits and oddballs. And like, I guess like the thing that Farage has always been able to do is really realize that like there was like political potential in them. And I think at the time, like, it was very easy to sort of dismiss them as oddballs because that's what they were. But like, the thing about, we sort of fast forward to now, it's like, well, the oddballs are sort of like, it's not that they necessarily have the political energy, but it's because like politics is so chaotic right now. And because it's so like, the establishment parties have no sort of sense of control. They have no sense of narrative. They can't really kind of tell any story. And in the meantime, you have like the internet and internet culture that like distorts those types of narratives. So like cutting through is very difficult. And so the curse that Farage had, and the gift and the curse that Farage and like Reform seem to have, is that like they've identified that, there are lots and lots of oddballs in this country that have become like increasingly radicalized by like looking at screens too much and like buying too much bullion on like, just sort of like being online, or like just mixtures of lots of things. Like you have just like, again, like, you guys we like, a lot of us come from suburbs, like these types of suburbs. And we know like there are people there that just have it's really weird to interact with them. I've been watching like a few videos of like the protest outside of like that hotel. The one in Epping, not Epps, not the one in Epping, and also the one in Canary Wharf. And like these are interviews by like so-called like independent like journalists. It's like one guy who's like really looks
Essex PR. Adam Brooks, Essex PR is who you're talking about. Yeah.
There's this other guy whose name I can't remember, but I think you guys probably would have come across him, like considering how many videos you guys watch. And like this guy must only be like in his 20s, but he has the face of like a 40-year-old. It's so like weird and jarring to watch. But like his videos always show up on my feed. So I'm like watching them, and he's like interviewing like people on both sides of, his whole thing is I interview both people from both sides or whatever. But clearly like one gets more airtime. But like when you see the interviews that he does with like the far right groups, like they all like lack they all just like completely lack coherence. And so they'll like, and also like these people that they interview like have no attention span at all. And so they'll ask them like, oh, what do you think about like the migrants in these hotels? It's like, oh yeah, there's shit in it. But like then they'll like 30 seconds later, they'll start talking about like something completely unrelated to like
ULEZ or the vaccine. Yeah.
It'll be like Sadiq Khan, ULEZ, the vaccine. They're putting new chips in our phones to spy on us. Digital ID is already here, and like you can buy it in news agents is one thing that I heard in one of these
fighting age men
videos.
will come up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely calling my next stand-up tour Fighting Age Man.
It's just very incoherent, but it's like that's always been the energy, and that's the thing that like Reform is trying to sort of capture and build into something like that can lead them to like political victory. But the question I always come back to is just like, well, what are you going to do with it when you get it? Because like this is completely unconcentrated. As you mentioned, like Farage has no power over this. They've already sort of started turning on him. But the thing is, they'll start turning on like fucking what's his name, Rupert Lowe as well, right? Because no politician can really sort of harness that type of like erratic, I don't even know what to call it. It's not really power, but like they can't really sort of control that erratic energy. They just can't do it.
And I think that's like most, like, I do, it seems most kind of visceral to me in like Nige, who's wanted to be the prime minister since he's probably about 5 and was always like, it's never going to happen and it's probably going to happen. And as it's about to happen, he's letting like a load of 19-year-olds like run Hull.
Yeah.
They're just turning up in their next suits and they don't know what to do, bless them. It's not their fault. It's like someone needs to
They're
stop
just getting
them.
bullied by whole 19-year-olds for wearing a suit.
And it's just like, there's probably some jaded civil servant sat across from them being like, no, sorry, we can't bring back public executions. That's not within the remit of Hull Council, actually.
I know you've spoken to Tony Bellew, but unfortunately he doesn't have that power either.
But this is a mad thing though, because I think the way you describe that, Hussein, is 100% correct. It's like they cannot control this energy they've created.
They also just, they also just don't know what they want. This is the other thing too. And it's like, that's not like a criticism. It's not a sort of like lib, like, oh, these guys are so stupid. It's like, you don't actually know what you want.
It's completely undirected. They haven't directed it in one particular direction. It's because they don't have anyone at the whole. Like, this is the moment. Like, I personally, I don't know much about it. I think there'll be a flash election next year.
Really?
And I think Reform...
Huge.
I think Reform could take it.
Yeah. Right.
If Nigel Farage wasn't in fucking America every week. Why is he in America?
He's trying to break America. It's a bigger political
it's
market.
Like he's trying to break America when his first album's about to come out in the UK. It's like you have to be on Jonathan Ross. You have to do Graham Norton.
Yeah.
You're like, it's insane.
Yeah.
He's been working for 15 years to get this opportunity. He's finally got it. He's in fucking America.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's back with an album of jazz standards. Please welcome Mr. Nigel Farage.
He's singing a song by Andrea Leadsom. No, he and Andrea Leadsom are doing like the famous Tony Bennett Lady Gaga duet.
Yeah.
To Hussein's point, like all it takes is for someone who isn't a fucking thug in Tommy Robinson, right? Who isn't just a violent fucking moron who can't be in the country for more than 2 weeks because he'll get arrested, or someone who isn't the most ridiculous suit in the world. All it takes is for someone to just unite a bit of it, point it in one direction. They will win it so comfortably. Tories are gone. Labour are imploding. They would fucking walk it, but none of them can do it. It's mental.
But I think this is a good time to bring it back around to our second Boschman, which is like, we ask why people project on these guys and why they're like, oh, we got to draft the Boschman. He's able to like thread this needle because, again, most of what he's much more nakedly political Tom Skinner than Big John. Big John is a normal man who ate a lot of Chinese takeaways, and it sort of saved his imploding cheese and meat business and helped his son's boxing career.
And he's not naked thanks to Bear Rhino.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Tom Skinner is someone who who's been trying to be famous since forever. Who's a market stall trader, but who went to like a private school that I believe he was excluded from.
The classic market stall trader origin story, where you go to private school and then you start selling mattresses on a market stall.
Yeah,
it's the normal career, and then you go on Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah, and then he goes.
Because you're working class.
But he goes on The Apprentice. He goes on like lots of these shows, and he has this traditional media career. Again, only in Britain is I am famous for being on several reality shows that don't have much to do with one another. Only in Britain is that traditional media career. And then he says he also, instead of going to the Blue Orchid Chinese, he goes to Dino's Breakfast. He likes big breakfast, as Tom Skinner, and pints. And so he's like, has this legacy media career. And I think he sees the opportunity because he wasn't always so political, right? He was also just like, oh, I'm a cheeky chappy, I'm an Essex, I'm an Essex guy, cheeky chappy, bit of like a sort of only fools and horses character, and I'm going to I just believe in graft, hard work,
special cuddles with your wife.
Yeah, well, quite, and I have a family, do a bit of hard work, have a big house in Romford, Bosh,
drive a van.
Yeah.
No one knows what's in the van. Let's not ask any questions about what I'm doing with the van. I'm just in a van. Don't worry about it.
Don't ask why I'm at the cafe at 4 a.m. That's got nothing to do with you. I might have been out all night.
Yeah.
I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're picking up asylum seekers in Calais. We're putting them in the back of the van and we're sneaking them across the channel because we love a bit of hard graft early in the morning. How about?
He also has spun his brand into a lot more than Big John has. He also has the Bosch gym, the Bosch mattresses.
The Bosch gym.
Yeah, he Big John goes to the gym. Tom Skinner started a gym, the Bosch gym in Essex.
But that's what the way you've just described the gym is all of it. It's like Big John fell into it. Tom created it for himself. Do you know what I mean? And that I think it's easy to forget. Tom's had a media career that he has fought for and he put himself into for 10 years now. And as anyone who had any kind of career in legacy media over the last 3 years has done, is pivot towards the internet, social media, all of that stuff. He's relentlessly tweeting. I know people who know him, and he also on top of all of this has what he calls the Bosch taxi, which is genuinely a black cab driver that he has on salary to just drive him around all day while he's doing these TV appearances so that he can drink and smoke in the back of the cab and doesn't have to drive.
Oh my
God. Get himself back to Essex for a pie.
Critical support for that specific aspect.
He's calling it Essex's answer to Uber. But this is what I'm trying to get to. Is this is a sort of like a pitch man, a salesman, a wheeler dealer. He'll often be like, I just love selling stuff, And this is genuinely that attitude. It so fits with right-wing politics, which is I'm going to, through force of my personality, as opposed to what I'm doing, excite you about something, get you excited about it. And if you're selling something, you're not giving someone something they need. You're trying to persuade them to do something you need, right? This is why so many sort of right-wing politicians through history have been salespeople, actors, stuff like this. Anyway, he is, again, emphatically, he is not a politician. A lot of people, I think, want him to become one. In fact, the last couple of months, there have been so many articles about him in traditional media, Unheard or the New Statesman or whatever. They're like, no, they want this guy to be a literal politician.
We did an episode about him when he must have been negotiating the final contract to go on Strictly Come Dancing, which is probably get at least a couple hundred grand for that.
Americans, the Americans listening to this.
What's
Dancing with the Stars?
Right, okay, that's what it's
Dancing with the
called.
Stars in America.
Yeah, why do we call it Strictly Come Dancing?
I don't know.
Because there used to be a show called Come Dancing. In literally in the 40s.
Wow.
That was like a ballroom dancing show, but not celebrities.
Okay.
And then I think we took that and we smashed it together with the parody Australian film Strictly Ballroom.
This is incredible.
And turned it into Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, it's TV for the dying. It's walk-in bath. It's got bully and direct.
Yeah.
But he was about to become even more of a mainstream celebrity than he already. And that was when he started putting out these particularly inflammatory tweets and then deleting them and saying his agent was talking about. And it's like you say, he was on the verge of getting everything that he'd ever wanted. And that's what I'm particularly interested in or scared of, is that he thought, no, actually, the way to increase this or ratchet it up is to appeal to those mad right-wing people. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to I'm going to become apolitical at this moment. He's lent into that, that's fucking frightening. Why do you want to go and hang around with big bad Bobby Jenrick? Fuck that. You want to be hanging around with whoever presents, is it Holly Willoughby? No. Who does... God, I don't even know who presents Strictly. Tess Daly.
Tess Daly.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
You pulled it out. Yeah, because it's Tom Skinner he treads the line. He's like, look, knife crime's out of control. There are too many small boats. I just think we should house veterans instead of giving asylum seekers Bentleys. The usual Facebook nonsense, but just Facebook comment, but like coming from an original poster who happens to be like being astroturfed into being a genuine celebrity by everybody around him, it seems, as well as trying to be drafted into the two main right-wing. Like, it seems like every single influential force in the British establishment, like they're trying incredibly hard to make Nigel Farage prime minister. They're trying just a little bit less hard to make Tom Skinner utterly ubiquitous.
I cannot begin to tell you how much he would hate doing a job in politics.
God, yeah.
He would quit so fast. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like, we've got some intel from his neighbours.
Oh, yeah.
Who have been in touch with us. And despite like having clearly loads of money, I mean, I couldn't possibly begin to speculate why the assets that he owned would be slightly less revealing of how much money he has, or why he's chosen to live in a slightly smaller house than he perhaps has money for. But he lives in a terrace house with neighbours on either side, and someone who listens to our podcast, their best mate moved into him next door to him recently.
Well, no, the best mate was in a house already, and then the best mate was like, I've got these new neighbours. Right. They're an absolute fucking nightmare. They've taken one of the fence panels off so that my kids can go in their garden and their kids can come in mine. It's a guy called Tom Skinner.
It just wants a bit of community. Bosh.
Yeah. Normal person has no idea who Tom Skinner is.
Yeah.
Unless it existed.
But this is it. Yeah, he keeps talking to my wife. He's taken a fucking fence panel out of my garden. He keeps insisting we have barbecues. He's making noise every fucking week. He's got this weird black cab that stays outside the house.
There's a guy called Barry sat in a black cab outside the house, like a fucking Unibomber or something.
He is like the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. Like the people, they just live in terror of this sort of like big red ogre who's going to take out your fence panel.
The way that we described him in this way somewhat more affectionately, because it was before he'd kind of pandered to this sort of nasty stuff, but like we described him as like the loudest dad at the all-inclusive buffet. Do you know what I mean? It's like the biggest, reddest English father shouting at the swimming pool on your holiday, and who's ready to kind of unionize the other tourists against the people that are running the entertainment. Do you know what I mean?
Why don't we just take over? They don't need to run the karaoke. I can run the karaoke.
Why can't we have darts in the morning? They said we can only have darts after dinner. Why don't we have it in the morning?
What's wrong with having darts by the bouncy castle? There's nothing wrong with that.
You'd vote for darts, wouldn't you? And you kids. You'd all vote for darts. I'll go get Stavros now. Stavros, we want darts.
Yeah. Tom Skinner reeking of lager, scaring the kids on the bouncy castle by having a go just for a laugh.
Yeah. Let me on there.
Yeah.
So what if I got a steak pie on me? Let me on.
Yeah. So like, this is genuinely like the guy of the moment on the right, it seems, who is supposed to be like the next celebrity / politician.
What did him and JD Vance talk about, man?
Oh my God.
What on earth? I would give anything to know what was going on.
So you guys know how.
I also think we should have darts.
I'm a normal guy too.
Yeah.
Can I fuck you? No.
You guys know how that gets set up, right? Like the Tom Skinner JD Vance thing.
Doesn't Tom? Tom Skinner has some kind of like weird political kind of like what's the word, like patron who's kind of like
working for Skinner.
Yeah, no, it's this guy James Orr who's a professor of the philosophy.
Him out to the ruling classes.
Yeah, he's the professor of philosophy at Cambridge. Specifically, the professor of the philosophy of religion, like one of these like weepy high church Anglican guys. And he basically,
I'm fascinated by this Bosch.
Yeah, that's literally what we're talking about. He's like, oh yes, fascinating. I think he's entertaining, but he shall entertain, of course, the masses, and then we'll bring back hanging.
Gosh, I bet he could just get his hands around your neck and just squeeze
the life out of you.
Yeah,
those big meaty.
We faced criticism from our own listeners of our podcast for a while because they were like, "You were too kind on Skinner. You should have hammered him harder." And it was kind of a sort of quirk of recording schedules that like he'd gone a lot further right wing between us recording and releasing an episode. Do you know what I mean? but then my kind of like I guess childish reaction to that, I was like, oh fuck off. There was a bit of me, I sort of thought to myself, I was like, God, as if the left are threatened by him, right? as if this is what's going to take down the left. And then now that I've seen it kind of the way that people are projecting onto him, like, God, as if this is what the right need. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's one thing the left being scared of him. it's another that, as you say, Riley, like the two biggest right-wing parties in the country are doing anything to beg this guy.
Yeah, which one's sadder? Being cowardly afraid of him, or desperately trying to come to your house?
Yeah.
I found this chap. He's a mattress salesman, and I think he could be just what we need.
Do you support the Hammers, Tom? Do you? You look like a Hammers guy to me.
Have you ever blown a bubble, Thomas?
Would you? No.
Would you like some?
So James Orr, this like who's in like all the same fucking discords. Like Peter Thiel and JD Vance are all in. It's just
sticking his oar in.
Yeah, it's just like there's a mattress salesman. He seems quite peculiar. I think he'll like him.
He runs a few gymnasia.
Yeah. No, clothed. I know. So this is from an article in Unheard by Niall Gooch.
Come on. Don't try and sneak that one past me.
No.
What's his real name?
It's Niall Gooch, I'm afraid. I'm afraid his parents...
Not the old Goocher for coming round from Unheard, sticking his beak and everything again.
Yeah, so I'm afraid...
That's a name we would make up for this guy.
Yeah.
That can't be his real name.
Gooch, quick.
God, I've got to get the scoop to Gooch. James Orr has found a mattress salesman who's going to barnstorm the country.
Get Gooch on the Bosch beat.
Damn it. So in the words of James Orr, associate professor of the philosophy of religion at Cambridge, is a champion of Skinner. I look champion of Skinner. Tom Skinner's like society lawyer. He's a very busy man. He's up at 3:30 a.m. grafting, going for those revolting breakfasts. He gets in his van, drives around the southeast delivering mattresses, and it's a cheeky pint to the local.
They talk about him like they talk about King Kong in the film.
It's like, come, look upon him. Look at the revolting breakfast he eats.
Also, like, I swear he gets up earlier every day. Like, every new person is like, he gets up at 3 a.m. He gets up at 1 a.m. He gets up at 11. He gets up before he goes to bed.
Yeah.
All right? That's how much grafting he does.
This is going to end up with him like chained up in a conference centre for their conference in Manchester. Look at him. Look at the mighty Skinner. Will he break his chains and come and run amok in the conference area?
Hanging off Big Ben.
So it was Orr who match-made him with Vance, having earlier identified something in Skinner that he felt deserved a wider audience. Behind the cheeky, chappy persona was someone he felt who was England incarnate, a patriotic, straight-talking family man with the kind of face William the Conqueror might have stared at in 1066.
Fuck me.
William the Conqueror won.
Yeah, no, but like...
This is not a good...
Hence the name.
Yeah. The kind of face an arrow might have gone through in 1066.
And also, this is, I guess what he means is like, oh, he's not like these fucking Normans. He's proper English, and he's going to bring back like... Yeah.
Not like these effete Normans coming over here and writing down everyone's name in a big book.
Isn't there a bit where he's like, it's the sort of face you might have seen on the quarterdeck with Horatio Nelson or marshalling troops at the Somme.
Yeah, that's at the beginning. It says there's something timelessly reassuring about Thomas Skinner's face. Niall Gooch can't stop talking about Thomas Skinner's physiognomy.
Yeah. Oh, this is horny. This is 100% horny.
There were Tom Skinners in the Saxon shield wall at the Battle of Hastings, and on the quarterdeck with Drake and Nelson, Sergeant Tom Skinner held the troops steady at Blenheim and Waterloo and the Somme with indomitable cheerfulness.
He doesn't have a sergeant energy. He has the most unruly lance corporal in the brigade energy. Yeah, the one who's constantly on latrines because he's done something horrendous.
Of course, he's not. He doesn't exude competence. He exudes, "I've just done a shit in your helmet," and like, good luck. Like
the Bosh.
Although he sounds ambivalent on the question of entering politics himself, politicos from across the spectrum are seeking to hitch their wagons to him and, quote, seeing where the philosophy of Bosch may be where we're heading. The philosophy of Bosch, isn't it? It's just being on camera and being kind of like, cheeky and then saying, the Greens they want it to be illegal to be cheeky. And then it's like, yeah, that's right, they do. I read that. It's just repeating the same stuff from the paper that everyone reads. So then they're like, yeah, they could. So he said, I read in the paper that the wokes and the Greens are going to try to make breakfast illegal. That everyone else who read the same article in the Telegraph that's like, woke Greens come for rashers is going to be like, fuck, I heard that. He tells it like it is.
I kind of do think we've gotten stupider, I know people say like, the Nazis were stupid or whatever, but I don't know. I don't feel like Oswald Mosley was like, we found this chap. He's got a few fruit and veg stands.
Yeah.
I think we can base our whole political philosophy on it.
Yeah, there's two distinct groups. There's loads of high church people running around Oxford being like, he's got the soul of someone that would have stood at Blenheim. And then everyone else being like, he has a steak pie for breakfast. And everyone's just like, this is the guy. It doesn't matter why.
It's two groups of people with sort of equally trepidatious of Skinner, but like one group is afraid that he'll beat us up and the other group is hoping he'll beat them up in kind of a sexy way.
One of them is afraid of their own feelings about Skinner and what it entails for their parishioners. Yeah.
So Orr went on. There's something timelessly English about him, rejecting the idea that his appeal may be rooted in some sense to extent of nostalgia for a vanishing imagined England and pints down the local. Quote, it's the energy, the sunny optimism, the authenticity, and maybe a glimpse into what's been lost. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's
Nothing's
insanity.
been fucking lost that Tom Skinner represents. You can still have breakfast.
He lives in a fucking Barrett home and he drinks pints. That's like most people in the country.
There is that exact man in every pub in the country.
Yeah.
You can find a Tom Skinner in every pub in the country, and every one of them's trying to go, you can't live like this anymore. It's like, there's a million of you living like this. You're all living like this.
It's tough to be the Tom Skinner of the Devonshire.
Yeah.
Trying to desperately get any attention.
James Orr rang Skinner every day for 6 weeks. Skinner did not, and it took like 6 weeks of calling constantly for Skinner to like pick up the phone and then come to this like conference put on by The Spectator.
The CIA couldn't have waterboarded that one out of me. I rang Tom Skinner every day for 6 weeks so he'd agree to come to my nerd barbecue.
There's a video of this online where they get Tom Skinner to like participate in like a panel conversation, and he leaves. I'm very sure he leaves like halfway through because he has to take a phone call, he says, and then he never comes back.
Amazing.
Got to speak to a man about a mattress.
And you can kind of see like the other like panelists are sort of waiting for him, but they don't know if he's going to come. Like they don't know if he's coming back or not, and so they're like kind of on this. It's very very funny to watch.
Yeah, it says so he rang Skinner for 6 weeks, and then he comes to this conference that was called Now and England by the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation. Imagine. Roger Scruton is like summoned back from the dead for 10 minutes just to be told what his foundation is up to now. And you just show him, here, we have this guy's the most popular thing that your foundation did. And he's just like, want a mattress? Want a pie? How about I sell you a pie for the price of a mattress? And then Roger Scruton would just die again.
Big Douglas Murray has to be the one to tell tell Roger Scruton's ghost, sorry, old boy, we've fucked it a little bit.
Danny Kruger is just like, I'm afraid we've had to use an elf.
Yeah. The headquarters is a static caravan now. In Bognor Regis.
So it's just like, and again, everyone's fucking writing about this. He also is releasing a single called Bosh Drink Stella.
Oh yeah, we've covered this before to the tune of Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax.
Yeah, relax, drink Stella, make you feel better.
It's as bad as it sounds.
Oh yeah, because he did it. I've seen a clip of him doing this. This was like a viral video back in the day.
From lockdown. It's from lockdown. Yeah, I mean, he's. It's one thing that I think isn't spoken about enough with Skinner and Big John, the Bosch men, is it like they both got huge in lockdown, and I mean on the internet as well as
Big
within
John
their
was huge
bodies.
already.
But like there was something, and it's because there's a somewhat anti-authoritarian feeling to both of them. Like, I don't want to just have 6 people in my garden. I want to see my nan at Christmas. Does that make me a fucking criminal? It really harnessed that energy.
Yeah.
But you can't put that energy in an office.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They're trying with Tom Skinner.
But this is why I don't think he'll do it. You know what you were saying, Hussein, that he was at that panel and he got up and left. Guarantee you that as he was leaving that panel, whatever it was, he'd have texted one of his mates and gone, fuck this.
No, exactly. I feel like the fascination, like among the sort of like intellectual right, whatever you want to call them, with him is really less to do with him and more to do with like this paucity of ideas in general in British politics. Like nobody has any idea about what to do or like who they are, what they should be, what their values are. And there are like, there are sort of very long explanations for why that might be, lots of theories, etc. We don't need to sort of go into them. But there is this sort of sense of like aimlessness. And I feel like, they've sort of looked at what's happening online and they're seeing that, and I think there is something also to be said about just the effects of like videos and online content that just makes you dumber. And the fact that, this is like the new popular form of media, and the sort of establishment media, the sort of mainstream media have no real answers answers as to like how they counter this, right? Or at least it's like the answers that they might have is like are deemed to be either unworkable or unaffordable. Like this is very like my theory, like if you really want to go back to it, is like this is very much like a long tail of austerity type of story. And so instead of like presenting a challenge to that, whether in terms of narrative or in terms of like even kind of creative output, everyone has decided in terms of establishment stuff to like lean into it.
Yeah.
But like how, if you are someone who is like someone like James Orr, like who I went on Wikipedia and looked him up, and it's just like, okay, this is a guy went to the same private school as Rishi Sunak, basically has lived in Oxford and Cambridge his entire life in terms of like being a university don like his entire life. Like when he started out doing this thing in like the 1970s or 1980s or whatever, I feel like, you know, at that time it was very much like, okay, I'm just going to become like an intellect, like that's going to be me. I'm going to be an intellectual and I'm going to like occupy the status that has been bequeathed to me by like the English class system, and it's never going to like be disruptive. And all of a sudden you find yourself like being like, oh, like, you know, no one's listening to you, no one's paying attention to you, your ideas don't work, everyone thinks you're stupid, everyone's giving you a wedgie every time they see you, right? Like, and but you do, you know, what do you do then to cling on to any sort of sense of like, you know, who you want to be? Like, well, you kind of have to find it in this guy. You have to find it in these types of characters who I think for like the most part, you know, they are very few of them are sort of like overtly political. They sort of give off vibes sometimes of like where they might be, right? But I feel like a lot of it is just very much just they're confused about like what they actually think and how they feel. And it's just, you know, I see stuff on, it's like everyone else. I see stuff on my phone and I get angry about it. And that stuff can be like, you know, your XL bully being put down, or, you know, the Chinese takeaway sort of like putting up the price of prawn balls or something like that. Like things that just make you angry. And then the question these guys, like the question that like, you know, a lot of the political operatives are having is like, well, how do you channel that into anything that is politically productive? And like, they don't really have an answer, which is why you then just get all these pieces in like in Unheard and everything, which is like, he has such a beautiful head and it reminds me of like, he has a beautiful skull that reminds me of like the Norman conquest. Like, that doesn't mean anything, but none of this means anything. You can say what you want. I don't fucking know. Like,
James, could you come in and sit down, please? Yeah, you're a bit behind on your marking, and we've read the article where you said that you called Tom Skinner 3 times a day for 6 weeks. You're obviously fine to get out.
So it's like, and I think this is what you say, what you're describing is why the moment a guy comes along who has some kind of organic appeal, they have to slot him into, like, these guys, these like right-wing intellectuals have to slot him into a category they understand, which is why Simon Evans in Spiked is like, yes, he's an avatar of the Arthurian myth of the sleepers under the hill that'll awaken to England's direst need. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Also, like another thing, and I'll say this very quickly, which is like there's kind of like the lack of sort of any type of interest in arts and culture, I think, in the UK. I can't speak about any other countries, but like the lack of interest in arts and culture and the lack of like arts critics and cultural critics in sort of mainstream, like, yeah, in the mainstream kind of means that all of this stuff is left to like the dwindling number of like political pundits who are the only people in journalism to be allowed jobs. You know, that goes back to answering the question that we were asking at the very beginning, which is why on earth is Big John on Newsnight? But it's also why, like, you know, your architect, your the Guardian architecture critic or whatever, I think that's who he is talking about like, you know, Tom Skinner and these fawning terms, or like how you have political pundits who are sort of like trying to interpret internet culture in a way that sort of makes sense in a kind of to understand elections. And it feels very vacuous and it feels embarrassing and very, and I do like, the more I think about it, it is just very much like, well, when you've just decided to like decimate arts and culture and music and like everything that isn't just like politics, then you turn politics into entertainment. Like this is the stuff you get. And then but like in practice, it means that like you desperately try and put Tom Skinner or Big John or like, I don't know, HS Tiki-Toki into like some type of like, you know, is HS Tiki-Toki a Lib Dem? I don't fucking know. Maybe. Yeah, sure. Go on, go for it.
Going down a helter skelter with Tim Farron. Yeah. Beating up Bevo at the bottom.
Oh, God, yeah. Who will draft the humble Bevo?
Yeah, who wants him?
You don't need to choose. Vote with them. I've chased the roll wheel of cheese down the hill. Now I'm going to swallow it whole like a boa constrictor.
I want to finish by reading a little bit of Tom Skinner's speech from this like Roger Scruton event. He says, England is the absolute governor. We're the home of the rule of law,
What a start.
the Industrial Revolution, and the internet. But it's built on family, graft, and community. The single mom up at 5 a.m. getting her kids ready for a long day of work, who still finds the strength to smile, but those failed, left behind in their own country.
Single mum having a fucking fry up.
Still finds the strength to smile.
With kids being taught to be ashamed of their own flag. He advocated as well for better childcare as well as more forceful police because, quote, let's be honest, they're all pussies at the moment.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. That's all the time we have today for the battle of the Boshmen. This fake battle of the Boshmen. The Boshmen aren't battling, and people just like
They're
to
friends.
Yeah, they like to imagine
They're friends.
they are.
They hang out.
But guys, what an absolute pleasure to have you here talking about these two strange men and what they mean for British politics. No, not strange
Thank
men.
you.
These two unstrange men.
Normal men.
These two very normal
Innocent
men.
Innocent men, yeah.
These normal men who've been made strange by the fact of being here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. Pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Products of modern Britain. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
We do a podcast called the Screen Rot Podcast where we watch the rot so you don't have to. And we explain internet personalities, which is how we got into Big John.
Yeah.
It's very
So
good. You should
check out Screen Rot. Hussein listens to it. I've been listening to it. I think Milo listens to it.
Yeah, I listen to it. Yeah.
I listen to it to like ignore my kid. So that if that's like by way of like any sort of
Jacob does it
endorsement.
to ignore his kids. So
That's why I started the podcast. I've got loads.
One in each arm, podcasting, beer on the go.
This is one of those ones that's been a little while coming. Glad to have you guys on. Milo, you have some cities to list.
Dates, yeah. This month, I've still got Cambridge on the 21st, Oxford on the 25th, Cardiff on the 28th. Also, London, I've got a special taping on the 27th, and I've got a warm-up show on the 23rd, which is a little bit cheaper. It's the same show. If you're looking to save a £5, then do that. Otherwise, October, November, I'm pretty much every city in the UK. miloedwards.co.uk/live shows. Come and see the show.
Hey, well, with that, we'll see you on the Patreon in a few days. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.